Welcome back to the Old Barn on Ann Street. This has been Flooring Week, where we've shown all the work we did to redo the floors in the house, particularly the main floor, where we've had to prepare it, repair it, sand it, and today we want to finish the week with the finish. So we're going to finish with the finish. So there's a lot to get to, so let's get right to it. So here we are. Finally, all the spots are repaired. It's been sanded, and it's ready to go. I mean, we to prepare for the Rubio Monocoat. What I'm going to put on here: vacuumed the floor, swept it twice, vacuumed the floor, and then you use this raw wood cleaner. I'll show you right here, and you put that, and it just kind of helps clean out a little bit more. That's what the discoloration is there. It's still drying. As soon as it dries, we'll be ready to put this on. So the Rubio Monocoat, let me tell you a little bit about that. So the Rubio Monocoat is exactly what it says. It's one coat. I love this stuff. Use it in woodworking in my workshop. It's one that a lot of woodworkers will use if they're making river tables. That has the the epoxy in the middle of the wood table. And they will finish it quite often with Rubio Monocoat because it's an excellent product. But it was actually initially made for floors. So even though I learned about it through the woodworking community, it's actually for floors. So the reason why it's only one coat is because the Rubio Monocoat actually makes, according to them, the way they describe it, a molecular bond with the top layer of the wood. And so that just sticks to it. It adheres to it, and it has the finish on it. And because it's a molecular bond, you don't have to put a second coat on, because the second coat doesn't bond to the first coat of the Rubio Monocoat, because it only bonds to the wood. And so it's an amazing product. It has great colors. It goes on really easy. You don't have to put any Varathane or any top coats on. It's all one coat. It's the stain, the color, and the finish all at once. It's a little bit expensive, but when you consider the fact you only have to do it once as opposed to multiple layers of Varathane or whatever you're going to put on the top of your floors, and after you stain it actually, to me, it's fairly well priced, because you only have to put one coat. So it's going to be fun. So what we'll do once this floor dries. Here's how you put it on. You put it on in 3 stages, kind of. So there's 3 steps. So you put on, you spread the Monocoat out in an area, I don't know, just kind of a little 5-foot square area or something like that. And then you let it sit for 5 minutes. Then you start a second area, and when the second area is sitting for 5 minutes, you go back to the first area and you use a buffer to buff it in, so it makes a good, it just kind of really bonds well with the wood and spreads evenly and looks really good. And then you let that sit for 5 minutes, and then you go back a third time with a white rag or some kind of a rag and wipe up the excess oil. You don't want any excess oil there. So you're basically working in three stages. So you'll have 3 sections going. You'll put one down, you go back and then you buff one of them, and then you wipe up the other, and then you put on a new one, and then you buff, and then you wipe. And it doesn't really take that long, because you just spread it with a straight edge, and then wait 5 minutes, and then buff it, and then do it, and then wait 5 minutes and wipe it off. So it shouldn't take too long. I'm really excited about it. I loved working on this floor. I loved fixing this floor. I've never, repaired hardwood before, but I loved doing it. I love the look of it. I love how it turned out. And I can't wait to see what it's going to look like once the finish is on. So tonight's the night. It's time for the finish. So here we go. there it is. Loving the color. Final finish is just drying. We'll let it stay like this. In fact, I have to leave the lights on because I can't get to the light switches overnight. Let it dry overnight and see what it looks like tomorrow. Now, the Rubio Monocoat says that after about 8 hours, you can walk on it with your socks, kind of a light walking, but they don't recommend you have regular traffic on it for 24 to 48 hours. And so we'll at least give it a day, and then we'll proceed with the installation of the kitchen right over here. And we are excited about that, looking forward to it. So there you have it. It was a lot of work. It was probably the most work we've done in this house on any one single project. There's been a lot of other things that have taken much more time. It's been weeks, months that we've been working on this house. This project took about a week of repairing the floor, fixing the floor, sanding the floor, cleaning the floor, and then putting the finish on the floor. But I'm really excited about that. And one last thing I'd like to tell you about putting on, Rubio Monocoat or any other oil-based floor or any other finish is when you're done with these rags at the end of the project, you don't want to just toss them in a garbage can and throw them away. Because when you toss them in the garbage can and all of these rags, 2 or 3 rags, 4 rags that have all this oil soaked in the fabric, quite often, believe it or not, they will spontaneously combust and light into a fire. It's just something that happens with the oil it kind of heats up when it's all crumpled together in a small space like that. So you can do one of 2 things. One of them, like I've done here, you can just kind of drape them somewhere so they're not actually crumpled up, and so they'll slowly dry that way, and the heat won't build up in any way that causes a fire. A second way, and probably the most common way, would be to soak them in a bucket of water and leave them in that bucket of water for a while, and then dry them out and dispose of them. But don't just throw them right away into a garbage can or into a heap in the corner, because they can spontaneously combust. I saw somebody online one time. He set up 12, 16 different garbage cans, some with lids, some without, some with bags, some without, just a pile on the floor of different ways you would put the bags or the rags at the end of a project. And it was amazing how many of them burst into flame. I think it was about 40% of them or something like that, a little over a third, almost half of them did burst into flame. So it doesn't always happen, but it's important to know that to avoid that problem. So project is done. The rags are safe. We're ready to move on to the next job, and we're excited about the progress and looking forward to what comes next. So thanks for watching the whole process of this floor. We'll see you again. So now that we've finished the floor, what does come next is finishing the kitchen. We have to build the wall in the kitchen and then install all the kitchen cabinets and the appliances. And then we'll be pretty much done with the house, and the rest of our attention will be turned back to the barn. A lot of work we have left to do there. So thank you for sticking with us this week and for watching and following along. I hope your 2025 is starting out well, and I hope you have a great year ahead of you. And thank you for being a part of everything we're doing here at the Old Barn Unanswered. If you haven't yet, why not click on the barn, the portrait of the barn, become one of our subscribers. We'd love to start 2025 by adding you to our subscriber family. So we'll see you next week for the next episode of The Old Barn on Ann Street.